Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to talk about Kevin's first UX portfolio. So he's one of my students that went through my course, and I did a quick interview with him last week, kind of going through some of the hardest parts, the easiest parts, his experience so far learning UX, and then he walks through some of his portfolio himself. So we'll jump into that. But before, if you have any other UX questions or anything else you want me to talk about, go ahead and drop those in the comments so I can address them in some of my other videos. Okay, cool. So maybe tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of what you were doing before the course and your experience the last couple of weeks.
Sure. So before the program, I just finished my undergraduate degree at UC Irvine in economics, and so during the first 3 years, I really didn't have much of a concept of what I actually wanted to do that seemed like I could be passionate about. Um, so eventually, during my fourth year of college, I somehow got realized that I started looking into more creative fields and careers, and I stumbled upon graphic design first and did a little bit of research into that, and then I stumbled into UX UI design, which seemed even cooler to me, and more beneficial for me. Um, and so I knew that I wanted to make the career change for sure. So I just needed to figure out some concrete steps that will allow me to do that. So I tried looking at uh, other boot camps and other other programs like Springboard, Assembly, and other stuff, and other uh, programs like that. And so I just had a couple commonplace UX UI questions on Reddit, and so that's how I came in contact with you through Reddit, through the Reddit page. And so you told me about your program, and so I was like, okay, I'm down. So
Yeah. What would you say was like the best part of the experience so far? Like learning the course, also like the most challenging part. So like on the two extremes, like what did you like really enjoy and what was like a little bit harder for you to maybe grasp?
I'll start with the most challenging. I think just the um, what what was challenging for me is that it just kept taking like longer than I thought it could have taken. So especially working on the UI aspect, um, I kept thinking to myself, dang it, I feel like I should be done with this already. Like I've been working on this project so long, it's kind of it was like I've been working on it for an eternity. But
We did a bunch of iterations, right, on your UI design, and I think now when
yeah,
you put like your first iteration with your last one, like it's pretty impressive. I think like how far it's come.
yeah, that for sure took so much time, like much more time than the research. And so I think just being able to adapt to how UI works and how how it's created, I think that was very challenging. Um, because I was getting impatient a lot. I was getting antsy to just like wrap it up. Um, but but thankfully I stuck it through and uh, turned out to make something pretty good. Um,
Yeah, that's cool. Do you want to maybe share your screen and just quickly walk us through like your project, kind of what you did, um,
yeah, yeah, sure. Okay,
and even like the portfolio creation part of it, right? Like using UX Folio and the tools you use to put it together.
right, yeah, sure. Can you see my? Oh, okay, there you go. Okay, you can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is my uh portfolio as of now, there's an about section. Would you want me to go through that stuff or
You
just the
may want
port?
to click on the top black bar view homepage so that we don't see it in edit mode and we see it like in the actual
Sure.
there. Yeah. You don't have
Up
to go through
there.
like the whole portfolio, just kind of maybe talk about like creating it and the process behind it. Like how long did it take you to put it, like actually put it together and all that stuff.
Right. Okay. So so UXfolio is helpful enough where it had a bunch of different layouts where you could choose, the user could choose. So I just chose like one of the first ones, or this might be the like the like the head one or something. And so this is pretty much it as of now. So of course, the premium version of this software allows me to like change like certain aspects of like this image here um, that I don't have. Um, like for example, so I would like to make this this type white, of course, you know, um, but the premium, um, but the version I have is doesn't allow me to do that, and so
Because
and so
currently
yeah,
we have the free version, right? Like, so you were able to create the whole portfolio without paying anything, right? Like, it's still free
yeah,
right now. Yeah.
right, yeah, yeah. I created with the free version, and so this part just adding my resume. This was sort of this little objective here was kind of given was given from UXfolio. It was already like preset and just changed like a few words. And then I added an about section. And then this is the actual Interact case study that I created for my project. And so I guess we'll just take a look at that now. So yeah, okay, so this is the main image. And so I broke the case study into 5 steps: project context, kind of trying to understand where I came up with the idea and what role I would be playing. And then research is, of course, trying to figure out what the user's needs are, user goals. Also, background, secondary research, to figure out any more information that could be helpful in tackling the process. And then as soon as research was done, I started creating, uh, started delving into design ideation, uh, coming up with ideas for the UI. And so that includes my 3 different like UI uh, prototypes that I made over the course. And so usability testing is, of course, testing those designs, making sure they work, what doesn't work, and um, that sort of thing. And then final UI is like the final demonstration uh, of what Interact is and what it looks like.
Right.
And so project context. So I was in college, and I tried to come up with an idea from my personal life or personal experience. So in college, I experienced um, a multitude of different types of classes. Like, of course, you got your smaller discussion classes with like 20 to 30 people, and then you got your classes with 200 to 300 or more students. And so, thinking back on this, I thought that these bigger classroom settings aren't optimal for the student because it's hard to really put your attention into in, in such a big environment. It's hard to put your attention uh, continually onto the professor. Um, and so I found that it was really easy for students to leave class or like not want to engage with anyone around them or the professor during the class. Um, and so I thought that that was a problem just because it you know it kind of corrupts our learning experience. And so it so and so I think um, passive learning, where actively learning, where you're engaged with with the teacher and the students around you, and you're having like a more interactive experience, and that's when you learn more about whatever subject you're taking. And um, so I kind of did more research about that. So the problem that I came up with was lack of engagement and interaction between students and teachers leads to a shorter attention span on the students. And so I thought that the solution to this would be to increase the interactive qualities of learning to provide a more interested student audience. And as a sole designer, I conducted the user research and analysis, and and then wireframing and creating the UI and all that good stuff.
Let's maybe
And
walk.
so,
I know we
mm,
talked a little bit about the research earlier before you open this. Let's maybe walk through. I think what would be interesting to show is the different UI iterations that you did. So like from the first iteration and then the second one and the third one, if you have some of that.
sure, yeah. So I'll go to design ideation. So so would you like me to skip sort of this?
Yeah, I think we can jump into like the UI kind of thing. So those are your sketch
Okay.
files. Yeah.
So this is sort of a quick little example of what I made first as the low fidelity prototype, without any color palette and without mostly the color palette. Um, so yeah, I took inspiration from this. I took inspiration from just various things I saw on the internet. For example, the discover section on my home page, like right here, I kind of took that from Yelp because I kind of liked how that looked on Yelp. And so of course the spacing is kind of like not aligned properly, but
Right. And these
um
are your like low fidelity wireframes, right?
yeah, yeah. And so I didn't um of course take into account how it affects like the modern look of current UI. And so I kind of just, for this version, I kind of just thought what it might look like in my head uh without any like iteration to make it look more modern. So that's what really, this is just like off the cuff, off the brain design stuff.
Right.
And
To,
so
but I think this is
yeah,
when we were just putting like something on each screen to make sure like the flow was there, right? And we were accounting for like
right,
each step of the process. Cool.
right, right. That's definitely a great point because uh, the each wireframe was created to uh, demonstrate how the user flows worked, and what screen uh, goes to what other screen, and what's involved with each one. And so with this user flow, this is for the this shows what the user will do if you were to create a question set. And so there are of course more screens involved, but I kind of just uh, edit it to the most important ones. So the user would of course go to create, and then they would select question set, because they can either create a question set or a folder. And so this would be the main question set page without any questions on it, because they haven't created any yet. And so as they hit add question, they go to the question format, which would be the type of question would be. And so this would be, um, if the multiple choice, if they chose multiple choice as the format. And they were to type the question, add a picture, a video, and then answer choices. And so I skipped ahead to what this question set would look like at the end when the user is done creating the question set. And so it sort of looks something like this, with the list of questions laid out here, picture, title, topic, and
Right.
stuff. And
So
so,
I know
yeah,
we only have like 4 more minutes left, so maybe
right,
let's jump to the same thing, but in UI,
sure.
just so we can see the different um, iterations, right?
Right. Okay. So this is like a gallery of my second UI iteration.
Mhm.
And so of course this doesn't look as modern as it could look. And then the color palette uh, doesn't look as light, isn't as light as most modern UI is. And so there's a bunch of issues like that 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 are that led to me, changing it, of course. So white space, use of typography, this top bar definitely need to go. For example, the color palette is too dark, especially this dark blue, which I had set to like the main color of the app. And so also these icons, or at least the button sizes as well. The buttons weren't really up to code, per se. And so there's just a bunch of issues that I found that we discussed uh, about. And so the home screen, of course, dark colors, not enough white space. Um, for the format screen for the multiple choice and other question formats, um, button size and button drop shadows and all that stuff. So that was like these are like kind of the main issues that I found.
Right.
It just didn't really seem that, like, it seemed like a UI that was out of touch, that didn't look modern enough. So, and with modern design, like, people want to use a modern looking device or a modern looking whatever. So I think in the long run, users wouldn't use the app just because of that, because the UI didn't look visually pleasing enough. And so I fixed those issues with this UI iteration, with the colored palette, white space, and also button sizes was a huge issue. And so this is like kind of before and after. See how it looks completely different. Um, and so yeah, you can see already it's improved.
Right.
So yeah, you got some of the same things. Like, this looks much cleaner and much better overall. And so also a quiz question example looks much better than that one, because I think just the answer choice boxes are more suitable to a modern design.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that kind of carries on to the other screens. And so usability testing, I gathered a few participants to discuss what they think of it, and so they like a few issues involved not knowing exactly what game they were entering, what quiz game they were entering. They don't know whose quiz game they're entering, what kind of questions they're on it, or that sort of thing. And so another issue was confusion about whose results is on your screen. And so I had participants kind of question whether or not these are like their results or uh, the average, the class average,
Cool.
So confusion on the home screen and question format and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, so this is great. Thank you for sharing. What would you say, your advice would be to maybe somebody that is thinking about switching to maybe somebody that's thinking about switching to, UX design, right? And they're about to get started on the journey. Like what would be your, recommendation or your advice to them?
Um, I know it might feel very hard at first, as with any transition. So, um, so even though they don't necessarily have experience like I did, I'd say just, I guess it would just be um, have faith that you could do this sort of thing. I mean, it will take you some time to learn, the bits and pieces of UX UI, and you might feel scared to do some aspects of it, like if you're an introverted person who doesn't want to interview people, that might be an issue. But I think it's a great thing to do because it helps you overcome a certain aspect of what the process is about. Um, and so I think um, just just understanding and knowing that you can do that, anyone can do this. Really, just they just have to work hard at it, and at times they will feel antsy to maybe uh, get the project finished quickly. Um, I think overall time is a factor, but overall the quality of the product is much more important in my opinion. And so I think with enough time and effort, anyone can create something great, you know. And so I think just overall, just have faith.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin.
Yeah, appreciate it.